Welcome back to Destination Pro Wrestling. I'm your boy Ango, and in today's video, we got some very exciting pro wrestling news involving all three: Impact, AEW, and WWE. Now, in this video, we are going to talk about Naomi joining the Bloodline, and if that doesn't sound like news to you, just understand that WWE has some very large plans in place, and if this does come to fruition, it's going to lead to something, and we got to talk about it. We're also going to talk about an AEW wrestler backstage at Impact Wrestling, again, proving that AEW and WWE are not the only two major players in town. AEW and Impact have this really nice working relationship, and this is really good for business. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then also we're going to talk about an AEW major signing that is happening. Tony Khan keeps teasing things. He's talking about things. He is prepared to open the checkbook, and now we know Tony Khan has more plans to bring in more names. And it may not just be Bray Wyatt. You know, Bray Wyatt's been heavily talked about, but it sounds like there's a lot of things being at play, so we definitely got to talk about it. Now, let's kick things off talking about Naomi. For a lot of you guys, this may not be major news, but you know, one of the things that we typically criticize WWE about is their lack of ability to produce long-term storylines, the ability to plan ahead. This is something that AEW and Impact actually do on a consistent basis, but WWE is all about the moment and living in the moment. And that's not a bad thing. It just shows us that wrestling is better when there is a long-term play that is involved. Now, it's been rumored for a long time that Naomi would join the Bloodline. This was obviously due to her connections with Usos and obviously becoming part of the family. But WWE has yet to do anything with Naomi. Now, when you look at what's been happening on SmackDown, you know there's been some subtle changes to Naomi's character that really seems, like it's going to happen. It looks like WWE is getting the wheels in motion to make this storyline happen. Now, you might be wondering, why is this a big deal? Well, for one, Naomi deserves to be in a massive storyline, for one. I mean, that's the obvious. But the real thing here that we got to talk about is WrestleMania. Because WWE doesn't plan so long ahead, and then obviously, the pandemic definitely shook things up. It's actually being said that WWE has such major plans for the Bloodline, and this is why we are going to see them on Monday Night Raw against the New Day. Which, if you guys are criticizing that, you shouldn't. We've seen the Usos and the big and the New Day, and we've seen those big time matches, and they're always great in the ring. It's probably the one match I'm actually looking forward to, by the way. But nonetheless, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because the Bloodline is going to be the major storyline going into 2022. It's also being said that in the long-term realm of things, there is expected to be some sort of involvement from The Rock. However, that may not actually culminate at WrestleMania next year. It might not be until 2023. Now, nonetheless, WWE is trying to get the wheels in motion for a long-time storyline. It's even been said on Twitter, and I've seen a lot of people talk about this, and it doesn't mean it's right, but a lot of people are under the assumption that Brock Lesnar will not take the belt from Roman Reigns. That also means Finn Balor will not take the belt off of Roman Reigns. Now, I find this to be very interesting stuff because, of course, I would love to see the Demon Finn Balor beat Roman Reigns. But in order for WWE to successfully have a long-term storyline here, it sounds like WWE is going to be in a situation where they are really going to put a massive step forward in pushing the Bloodline with Naomi. Now, if this does actually happen and Naomi joins the group, I have to assume that it's going to happen at Extreme Rules. I believe it should happen at Extreme Rules because this pay-per-view needs things for people to talk about, and this would be massive. Imagine the Demon Finn Balor lost his championship opportunity because of Naomi. Just something to consider, but big plans are in place, and it's really exciting because WWE, everything else outside of the Bloodline is just kind of meh. So let me know what you guys think about that story. We're going to talk a little about Christopher Daniels. Yes, you guys remember the fallen angel. Christopher Daniels is expected to have some stuff happening with Impact. I don't know, man. It's really crazy. So if you guys didn't know, Impact is doing their TV tapings. He didn't have a match as of this moment. So there's been no reported match just yet. But he was flown down to Nashville, Tennessee to participate at the Impact Wrestling tapings, and he did have his wrestling gear with him. I love this. I want to talk about the story mainly due to two reasons. One, I think AEW and Impact's relationship is great. It's going to lead to even something better in the long term. But also, I think Christopher Daniels is somebody we haven't seen often in AEW. He split from SCU. SCU is doing something different. A lot of people forget that Christopher Daniels is only 51 years old, but this guy wrestles like he's like 20. This guy is really good. And the idea of him going back to Impact, people forget that he's an Impact OG. Just consider this. With AEW working with Impact and the X Division Championship is something that's there. I mean, I love to fantasy book this stuff. I keep talking about the importance of bringing the X Division Championship belt to AEW, and I'm hoping maybe AEW and Impact can do something there, especially with Christopher Daniels being at the forefront. But this is really cool stuff. It's not just Private Party. It's not just Christian. It's not just Kenny Omega. Now this is another name to the list of AEW guys who are in Impact. And as time goes on, I expect a lot more to show up. So we don't know what this is going to lead to. Hopefully it leads to big things, but ultimately I am excited about that. And our last topic of the day, Tony Khan, AEW CEO and president. He just recently came out. He was talking on Busted Open. He was talking on the radio. And the big thing here is he has some tricks up his sleeve. Now, I find this to be awesome because Tony Khan, in the beginning of AEW, he had a couple mishaps when it came to overhyping announcements. And then, of course, if you guys didn't know, I made a previous video about Dante Martin pretty much being like the next breakout star for AEW. To follow through with that, Tony Khan has put a lot of effort building the youth of his company. But of course, to help that and help that area improve, he has brought in some big names. Now, there are a plethora of free agents that were released by WWE, and obviously we all talk about Bray Wyatt. But in this video, there's one thing I want you guys to consider, and that's, if Tony Khan continues to sign people for 4 to 6 months, which he has said this before, for the next 4 to 6 months, he plans on bringing more people in. Who do you guys really want to see join AEW? My biggest fear is that some of these people he signs will become an afterthought because it is getting crowded. But ultimately, Tony Khan knows by bringing some of these more notable names, it will bring attention to the youth of AEW. And that is something I think people are totally forgetting about. So yes, AEW signing too many former WWE superstars, I can see why people have a problem with that. But it's also important for you guys to know that Tony Khan is staying busy. He is attacking the free agency. I mean, what else can you want from this guy? He's putting on a great TV show right now. What he's doing is not impacting the show. It's clearly not impacting the ratings. I fully support this, but I really want to know who you guys think he'll sign. I know we talk a lot about Bray Wyatt, and that's great. But also I think at this point, I will love nothing more than to see Buddy Murphy in AEW. And also when I look at the women's division, there are a lot of people that could benefit from joining AEW. But right now, the Iconics, or now known as the Inspiration, would also fit pretty well. Ultimately, I just want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Tony Khan is no secret. He's got something up his sleeve. I'm expecting some very big things happen to... I'm expecting big things to happen at AEW Grand Slam. So whatever happens, happens, but I know I'm excited for it. We have Grand Slam, and then we have Full Gear coming up in November. What a great time to be a wrestling fan. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time.